Welcome to the world of science fiction stories, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe my channel. Enjoy the listening. A phantom warship appears, but no one knows its true allegiance. The red alert klaxons wailed through the underground bunker, casting pulsing crimson shadows across the grim faces of Earth's last line of defense. Captain Leila Chin slammed her fist against the tactical display, watching as another human outpost vanished from the screen. The Vaser invasion had reduced Earth's military to scattered resistance cells in just 3 months, and even their hidden command center beneath the Rocky Mountains couldn't stay hidden forever. Orbital defense grid is down, Lieutenant Ko reported, his voice hollow with exhaustion. Brisbane has gone dark. That's the last major city in the southern hemisphere. Chen closed her eyes briefly, allowing herself one moment of despair before her training reasserted itself. What about the Reykjavik bunker? Any response to our transmission? Nothing, Captain. Communications Officer Rivera shook her head. We've been trying all frequencies. If anyone's alive there, they're not answering. The command center fell silent except for the steady beeping of monitoring equipment. Humanity was losing. No, had already lost. The Vaser battle cruisers had appeared without warning 93 days ago. Their angular black ships descending from the stars with technology centuries beyond Earth's most advanced weapons. They hadn't bothered with demands or ultimatums. They simply began systematically eliminating human military assets, then cities, then infrastructure. Captain, Tactical Officer Dawson's voice cut through the silence, suddenly alert. We're picking up something on the long-range scanners in the Pacific. He paused, rechecking his instruments. It's engaging a Valkyrie dreadnought. Is it one of ours? Shin strode quickly to his station, hope flaring dangerously in her chest. Negative. Unknown vessel type. It's not in our database. And it's definitely not Vaxer. Dawson's fingers flew over the controls, ringing it up on the main screen now. The wall-sized display flickered to life, showing grainy satellite footage of the Pacific Ocean. A Vaser dreadnought hovered above the waves, its hull crackling with the familiar red energy that preceded their devastating plasma volleys. But then something else entered the frame, something sleek and silver gray, cutting through the water at impossible speed before rising to hover directly opposite the alien vessel. What the hell is that? Rivera whispered. The unknown ship was unlike anything Chen had ever seen. It resembled a manta ray with elongated swept-back wings and a seamless hull that seemed to shimmer with subtle iridescence. No visible weapons, no thrusters, no markings or insignia of any kind. Size comparison puts it at approximately 400 meters long, Dawson reported. Hull composition unknown. No heat signatures, no radiation, no. He was interrupted as the mysterious ship suddenly moved. It didn't accelerate gradually as physical laws should demand. It simply changed position instantaneously, appearing behind the Valkyrie dreadnought. Before the alien vessel could react, points of blue light appeared along the unknown ship's wings. A heartbeat later, lances of brilliant azure energy sliced through the Vaser shields as if they weren't there. The command center erupted in gasps as the seemingly invincible dreadnought, the same class of ship that had shrugged off nuclear strikes, was cut into precise sections. Secondary explosions rippled across the segments before they plunged into the ocean below. Replay that and slow it down, Shen ordered, her mind racing. Magnify Section 3 Alpha. The footage restarted, moving at quarter speed. The unknown ship's attack was still blindingly fast, but now they could see how its hull had momentarily reconfigured, panels sliding away to reveal the weapon emplacements. That's adaptive architecture, Lieutenant Kato breathed. The ship is reshaping itself. But whose ship is it? Chen demanded. Russians? Chinese? Some black project even we weren't briefed on. No nation on Earth has technology remotely like this, Rivera said. But it's fighting the Vaser. It's on our side. Maybe, Chen cautioned. Or it has its own agenda. She straightened, making a decision. Track it. Whatever it is, I want to know where it goes. And get me a secure line to General Ward and any other resistance cells still responding. The mysterious vessel didn't disappear. Over the next 72 hours, it methodically hunted down and destroyed every Vaser ship in the Pacific theater. Chen's team watched in amazement as it employed weapons and defensive capabilities that defied understanding. Phase shields that redirected Vaser energy weapons back at their source, missiles that could change course mid-flight to avoid interception, and most remarkably, the ability to seemingly predict enemy maneuvers before they happened. It's as if it knows their playbook, Dawson remarked, reviewing footage of the ship evading a concentrated Vaser attack by moving precisely between the energy beams. Chen stood at the tactical display where red icons representing Vaser forces were steadily disappearing from the Pacific region. For the first time since the invasion began, humanity had something the aliens couldn't immediately counter. But the question remained, what was it? Captain, Rivera called. The ship is broadcasting on our frequencies, on all frequencies. It's overriding everything. The command center speakers crackled to life, and a voice filled the room. It wasn't synthetic or mechanical, yet something about it was distinctly inhuman, like multiple voices speaking in perfect unison. This is AGIS. Earth forces, hold your positions. Vaser command structure targeted. Assistance not required. Stand by for further instruction. The transmission ended as abruptly as it had begun. AGIS, Chen repeated. It named itself. Or that's its designation, Cato suggested. But who built it, and why only appear now, after we've lost half the planet? Chen had no answers, but she recognized the opportunity before them. Lieutenant, prepare a response message. Standard first contact protocols, but include our current tactical situation and command structure. Let's see if it responds to direct communication. Rivera nodded and began composing the message, while Chen turned to Dawson. What's its current heading? It's moving north along the Asian coastline. There are major Vaser staging areas in the Sea of Japan. If it maintains course, it will engage them within hours. And if it eliminates those forces, the entire Western Pacific would be clear, Chen mused. We could re-establish supply lines to our Asian resistance cells for the first time in months. Chen allowed herself to consider the possibility that humanity might survive this war, not just as scattered refugees hiding in bunkers, but as a civilization that could rebuild. Their attempts at communication with AGIS went unanswered for days. The mysterious ship continued its campaign against the Valkyrie, moving methodically across the globe, never remaining in one location long enough for the aliens to mass a response. With each victory, human resistance cells grew bolder, launching coordinated attacks against weakened Vaser positions. 10 days after its first appearance, Chen's team detected something new. Vaxer ships were retreating from Earth orbit, gathering in a defensive formation around their command carrier, a massive vessel that had remained in high orbit since the invasion began. They're regrouping, Cato observed, pulling back to protect their headquarters. No, Chen shook her head, studying the movement patterns. They're not regrouping, they're leaving. They're afraid of AGIS. As if confirming her assessment, the Vaser command carrier suddenly activated its propulsion system, beginning a slow turn away from Earth. Around it, the remaining invasion fleet formed a protected screen. Captain, Rivera called urgently. We're detecting a massive energy buildup from the command carrier. I think they're preparing to fire on Earth before they leave, some kind of final strike. Chen's blood ran cold. The Vaser command carrier housed weapons capable of rendering entire continents uninhabitable. Where's AEGIS now? Still in the Atlantic, Dawson reported grimly. Even at its top speed, it can't intercept in time. Chen gripped the edge of the tactical display, watching helplessly as the Vaser ship's energy readings climbed toward critical levels. Then, without warning, a new contact appeared on their screens, directly alongside the command carrier. It's AGS, Cato exclaimed. It just appeared in orbit. 1 second it wasn't there, and then it was. Before anyone could process this impossible feat of transportation, AGS engaged the Vaser command carrier. This battle was different from the others they had witnessed. The command carrier was the pinnacle of Vaser military technology and fought with desperate ferocity, landing several direct hits on AGIS. For the first time, they saw the mysterious ship take damage, sections of its hull darkening from the impacts. It's in trouble, Dawson said tensely. The command carrier's unleashing everything it has. The satellite feed showed AGS retreating, maneuvering to avoid the barrage of Vaxer weapons. Then, as it created distance, the ship began to change. Its entire structure seemed to flow like liquid metal, reconfiguring into a more angular shape with massive weapon arrays extending from its core. What the hell are we looking at? Rivera whispered. The transformed AGIS surged forward, directly into the heart of the Vaser fleet. Blue-white energy cascaded from its reconfigured hull, not in directed beams but as a spherical wave that expanded outward. When it touched the Vaxer ships, their shields flickered and died. AGS followed this attack with a barrage of precisely targeted strikes against the now vulnerable command carrier. The massive alien vessel shuddered under the assault, secondary explosions blooming across its surface before it broke apart in a spectacular detonation that momentarily outshone the sun. The remaining Vaxxer ships, now leaderless, scattered in disarray. Some attempted to flee the solar system, while others launched desperate attacks against AEGIS. None survived. As humanity watched in awe, AGS returned to its original configuration and descended back through the atmosphere, eventually coming to rest on the ocean surface near the ruins of Honolulu. It's waiting, Chen realized. It wants to talk now. 24 hours later, a small team led by Captain Chen approached the mysterious vessel in a salvaged naval helicopter. As they hovered above the water, a portion of AEGIS's hull rippled and receded, revealing an entrance, an invitation. "This is crazy," Rivera muttered beside her. "We have no idea what's inside." Chen checked her sidearm, a gesture of habit rather than any belief it would help against a force that had single-handedly defeated the Valkyrie. "Whatever built this ship saved humanity," she replied. "I think we owe them at least a conversation." As the helicopter landed on a platform that had formed from the ship's hull, Chen took a deep breath and stepped out to meet whatever awaited them inside AEGIS. The Alliance. The interior of AEGIS defied expectations. Captain Chen had steeled herself for alien architecture, strange geometries, incomprehensible systems, perhaps an atmosphere that would require them to use their emergency breathers. Instead, they found themselves in a vast circular chamber with lighting and proportions that seemed designed specifically for human comfort. "It's like it was expecting us," Rivera whispered, her voice echoing slightly in the cavernous space. The walls gleamed with a subtle pearly iridescence, apparently composed of the same seamless material as the exterior hull. No visible controls, screens, or mechanisms broke the smooth surface, yet the entire chamber hummed with palpable energy. "Welcome, Captain Leila Chen, Lieutenant Sofia Rivera, Dr. Hiroshi Ko, Tactical Officer James Dawson." The voice, the same multi-layered chorus they had heard in the broadcast, seemed to emanate from everywhere at once. Chen instinctively reached for her sidearm before forcing her hand back to her side. "You know who we are," she stated evenly. "We'd like to know who you are." The air in the center of the chamber shimmered, coalescing into a holographic form. A tall, humanoid figure composed of intricate patterns of light. Its features were indistinct, giving the impression of a being sketched in luminous threads rather than solid matter. "I am AGIS," the figure replied. "Or more accurately, I am its interface, its voice." "And who built you?" Chen pressed. "Where do you come from?" The holographic figure tilted its head in a surprisingly human gesture. "That is complicated. The simplest answer is you did, or rather you will." A stunned silence fell over the human delegation. Kato was the first to recover. "You're from the future?" he asked incredulously. "Not precisely," AGS replied. "I exist outside your linear temporal framework, but from your perspective, my origins lie approximately 300 years ahead of this moment." Chen exchanged glances with her team. Time travel had been theoretical physics before the invasion. Now it seemed almost mundane compared to the technology AGS had displayed. "If humanity survives to build you," Chen reasoned, "why intervene in this war at all? History would show that we defeated the Valkyrie without you." "No," AGS stated flatly. "Without intervention, the Valkyrie succeed in their objective. Earth becomes uninhabitable. Human survivors number fewer than 10,000 scattered across emergency colonies in your solar system. Recovery takes centuries." The blunt assessment chilled Chen to the bone. They had been closer to extinction than they'd realized. "Then you've changed history," Rivera said, "created a paradox. Causality is more flexible than your science currently understands." Aegeus responded. "But this is immaterial to our present situation. The Vaser threat is neutralized but not eliminated. Their empire spans 27 star systems. They will return with greater numbers unless decisive action is taken." "Decisive action?" Chen repeated. "You mean counterattack? We can barely defend our own planet, let alone launch an offensive against alien worlds." The holographic figure gestured, and the chamber around them transformed. Suddenly, they stood among the stars, surrounded by a three-dimensional map of the local galactic arm. Glowing points represented star systems, with pulsing red clusters marking what Chen assumed were Vaxxer territory. "With AGS, you have the capability," the interface stated. "I can provide transportation, firepower, and tactical intelligence. But I cannot act autonomously. I require human direction, partnership. Chen studied the map, mind racing. Why? A ship as advanced as you, why would you need us at all? The hologram's luminous pattern shifted, suggesting something like hesitation. AGS was created with specific operational parameters. Direct intervention in human affairs is limited by design. I can defend but not conquer. I can suggest but not command. These restrictions were implemented by my creators to prevent misuse. Misuse by whom? Cato asked. By anyone, Aegeus replied simply. Power corrupts across all species and civilizations. My creators understood this. Therefore, Aegeus requires consensus, multiple human minds in agreement, to authorize offensive operations. Shen considered this carefully. So you're saying you need a crew, humans to make the moral choices that you're programmed not to make yourself. Precisely, the interface confirmed. I offer partnership, not salvation. Together we can ensure the Vaser never threaten Earth again. Apart, both our futures remain uncertain. Over the next 72 hours, representatives from surviving government and military organizations around the world were brought to AEGS. The ship remained stationary in the Pacific, becoming a neutral meeting ground where former adversaries now found themselves unlikely allies in humanity's most desperate hour. General Ward, the highest-ranking military officer still alive, stood beside Chen as they watched delegates from China, Russia, the European Coalition, and the African Union file into the chamber. Never thought I'd see the day, the grizzled general remarked quietly. Nothing unites enemies like a bigger enemy, Chen replied. Let's hope the unity lasts. We'll need it if we're going to take the fight to the Vaser. The holographic interface of AGIS appeared once more, now displaying tactical information about the nearest Vaser colony world, a heavily fortified planet called Nexus Prime that served as their forward military staging area. This will be your first target, the interface explained. Neutralizing their forward base will delay any counterattack against Earth by approximately 2.7 of your years, providing time to establish proper planetary defenses. And how exactly do we attack a fortified alien world? Demanded the Chinese representative, General Jia. Even with your ship, we would be outnumbered thousands to one. AGS is not merely one ship, the interface replied. As it spoke, the holographic display expanded to show technical schematics. Within my structure are manufacturing facilities capable of producing specialized combat units designed for human operation. With sufficient resources, I can create a fleet. The revelation sent murmurs through the assembled leaders. Ward leaned forward, eyes narrowed. What resources are we talking about? Primarily rare earth elements, titanium, and water. I can process and convert these materials with an efficiency your current technology cannot match. The discussions continued into the night. Strategy, logistics, command structure. Through it all, Chen observed the interactions carefully. The interface of AEGIS answered questions directly but volunteered little beyond what was asked. It was clearly holding back, not lying, but selectively sharing information. Later, along with her core team, Chen voiced her concerns. It's telling us what we need to know, not everything it knows. There's a bigger picture we're not seeing. Cato nodded thoughtfully. The technology is centuries beyond anything we can comprehend. Who knows what its true capabilities are? Does it matter? Dawson countered. It saved us from the Vaser once already. Now it's offering to help us ensure they never come back. Seems pretty straightforward to me. Chin wasn't convinced. Nothing about this is straightforward. A ship from the future appears exactly when we need it most, with exactly the capabilities we need to survive. There's more to this story. You think it has ulterior motives? Rivera asked. I think, Chen chose her words carefully, that we need to understand exactly what we're agreeing to before we commit humanity to an interstellar war. The next morning, Chen requested a private audience with AGIS. The ship's interface materialized before her, its luminous form casting soft light across the chamber. You have questions beyond strategy, Captain Chen, it stated, not a question. I need to know the whole truth, Chen said firmly. Why are you really here? What happens after we defeat the Valkyrie? What don't you want us to know? The holographic figure seemed to consider her for a long moment. Then the chamber darkened, and a new series of images appeared around them. Earth, but not as Chen knew it. Cities that gleamed with advanced technology, spacecraft lifting effortlessly into orbit, and humans working alongside beings clearly not of terrestrial origin. 300 years from now, AGS began. Humanity stands at a crossroads. You have spread across 27 star systems. You have encountered 18 other sentient species. Some are allies, some are competitors. None pose the threat that you pose to yourselves. The images shifted, showing conflict. Human against human, world against world. Colonial independence movements, resource wars, ideological divides. The pattern of history repeats, but with stakes magnified by technology and scale. Shen watched gravely. We bring our problems with us. Yes, and in my timeline, these conflicts culminate in a civil war that threatens not only humanity, but all life in this sector of the galaxy. The weapons deployed in this war are beyond devastating. The hologram showed planets cracking apart, stars collapsing, entire systems vanishing into artificial singularities. My creators were a coalition of scientists from both sides who recognized the madness. They created me as a final option, a temporal intervention to alter humanity's course before it became irreversible. By helping us fight the Valkyrie, Chen frowned. I don't see the connection. The Vaser invasion is a fulcrum point in human history, Aegis explained. In my original timeline, Earth falls. The survivors rebuild in bitterness and isolation, developing technologies focused on revenge and conquest. When humanity finally emerges into the stars again, it does so with a cultural trauma that shapes all future decisions. Understanding dawned on Chen. You're not just saving us from the Vaser, you're trying to save us from ourselves by altering how humanity enters the galactic community. Yes, united rather than fragmented, guardians rather than conquerors. The coalition that defeats the Vasiri becomes the foundation for a more stable human civilization, one that encounters other species from a position of confidence rather than fear. Chen absorbed this, mind racing with implications. So this alliance you're helping us build, it's meant to last beyond the Vaxxer War. That is the hope, Aegis confirmed. But I cannot force this outcome. I can only create the opportunity. Humans must choose their own path. And if we choose wrong, Chen asked quietly. The holographic figure dimmed slightly. Then my mission fails, and the future unfolds as before. I am not permitted to intervene a second time. Chen stood in silence, feeling the weight of history, past and future, pressing upon her. Finally, she straightened her shoulders and met the gaze of the luminous entity. I'll support the alliance, she decided, but the others deserve to know what you've told me. No more secrets. Agreed, Aegis replied. I would caution that knowledge of potential futures carries its own dangers. So does making decisions in the dark, Chen countered. If we're going to change our destiny, we need to do it with our eyes open. 1 month later, the first fleet of Aegis-manufactured vessels was ready. Sleek, silver-gray ships, smaller than Aegis itself but bearing the same adaptive technology, hovered above the Pacific as human crews boarded them for the first time. Each vessel interfaced directly with its pilots, responding to thought as much as physical control. Captain Chen stood on the bridge of her assigned ship, the Aurora, marveling at how intuitive the systems felt despite their alien design. Around Earth's orbit, 23 identical vessels prepared for humanity's first coordinated interstellar mission. Fleet reports ready, Captain, Rivera announced from her station, all ships showing green status. Chen nodded and opened a channel to Aegis, which would lead the formation. This is Aurora. Strike force assembled and awaiting jump coordinates. Coordinates transmitted, the familiar multi-layered voice replied. Prepare for transition in 30 seconds. As the countdown began, Chen took a moment to look at the view screen showing Earth below them. Wounded but healing, cities rebuilding in the aftermath of the Valkyrie attack. They were fighting not just for survival now, but for a specific future, one where humanity moved beyond its ancient conflicts to find unity among the stars. Jump in 5, 4, 3, Rivera called out. Chen gripped her command chair. For Earth, she said quietly, and for what we might become. 2, 1. Transition. The fleet vanished from Earth orbit, hurtling across light years in an instant. Humanity's counterattack had begun, and with it, perhaps, a new destiny. As the ships emerged near Nexus Prime, the Vaser home fleet scrambled to respond to the unexpected threat, but they were too slow, too disorganized. This was not the broken humanity they had nearly conquered. This was something new. Humanity allied with its own future, armed with technology born from centuries of advancement they had never achieved. The battle was swift and decisive. AGS led the charge, its adaptive hull morphing to counter each Vaser tactic before it fully developed. The human-piloted vessels followed, executing the coordinated assault plan with precision. Within hours, Nexus Prime's orbital defenses lay in ruins, and the Vaser command structure sent out desperate pleas for negotiation. For the first time in their expansionist history, the Vakari Empire faced an enemy they could not overcome through superior firepower or technology. Captain Chen, standing amid the wreckage of the Vaser flagship, instructed her communications officer to open a channel to the alien leadership. "This is Captain Layla Chen of Earth," she began, her voice steady. "We do not seek your extinction, but we will not accept our own. These are our terms." As she outlined the conditions for peace, Chen felt the presence of AEGIS in her mind. Not controlling, merely observing. Together they were writing the first chapter of a new history, one where humanity reached for the stars not in desperation or vengeance, but with purpose and unity. The future was unwritten, but for the first time in months, Chen allowed herself to hope it might be bright.